Welcome to Hack Your Happiness.
The sustainability piece, like you can't do it all. You have to know when to turn it off.
Are you a teen or adult looking for more happiness in every day and ways to connect with people in your life?
You've come to the right place. Hack Your Happiness is a podcast designed to bring you the behind the scenes of what brings iconic individuals happiness, plus their life hacks.
I'm Mercedes.
And I'm Anastasia.
And we're the two teens behind Small Bits of Happiness.
We're interviewing Olympic athletes, entrepreneurs, celebrities, and more.
Throughout all of our episodes, you'll find great conversations, hacks that you can take away and try in your life, inspiration, as well as unique and surprising insights. Joining us today, we have Tracy Tutor. Tracy is one of the top real estate agents at Douglas Elliman Beverly Hills, and she's the U.S. ambassador for the Royal Atlantis Resort and Residences in Dubai. She's expanded her team from Los Angeles to Texas and worked with iconic architects such as John Lautner and Pierre Coing. Her achievements are countless, including co-founding Unsweet Wine, writing her book, Fear is Just a Four-Letter Word, and being a large part of the reality TV show $1 Million Listing. In fact, we've been watching $1 Million Listing for years, and we absolutely love watching Tracy be in her element, selling real estate and being an incredible mom, and it's one of our favorite family traditions. Tracy's charisma and hard work is unmatched, and it's reflected in all of her success and achievements in both her personal life and her professional life. She's so inspiring and amazing, and not to mention she has a very welcoming and bright spirit. Welcome, Tracy.
Hi, girls. Thanks for having me. You're very sweet.
So you're an extremely successful real estate broker, TV personality, and an author. How did your journey begin?
To be honest with you, my background actually was in the theater arts, and I went to undergrad at University of Southern California and studied theater. And prior to that, my background was in dancing and acting, so it was the right fit for me. And after I graduated from SC, I started going on auditions, and I recognized really quickly that I didn't like that my success was kind of out of my control. And, when you're an actor and you walk into a room and you're competing against, hundreds of other women for the same role, the odds aren't really in your favor, nor do you really have an opportunity to spend a ton of time. Maybe you get 3-4 minutes in a room and then you're out. So after a year or two of that, I said, I don't think this is going to get me to a place where I'm going to have the financial independence that I want. So what else can I do? And the one thing that the acting piece taught me, and obviously the audition process and the hustle and the different jobs that I had, from the time that I was 15 until even post-college, taught me about sales. I was always having to walk in the room and sell myself, as a part of the acting gig. And then, of course, waiting tables, working for my dad's construction company, selling suits in the mall when I was 16 years old. That was a commission-based job. And I liked the idea that if I sold 5 suits, that I would get like a bonus, not just the hourly. So that was like my first intro into, I have the opportunity to work on a commission-based job, and it's limitless, right? Like, I'm not going to stick myself into a box and say, I'm going to be lucky, and if after 5 years I'll make $150,000 a year and then, cap out somewhere. I think the beauty of real estate is that it's infinite. You're only connected to how much your value is really connected to how much you can actually sell. And I knew, because of my background in acting, that I knew how to sell myself and walk into a room and own it. So I got my license when I was 23 or 24, struggled for sure, but then eventually, started making 6 figures. And I was like, all right, this is it. I've made the right decision. And, now 25 years later, I make 7 figures, 5-6 times over. And I've got 2 beautiful girls, and I'm, lucky enough to be a mom and be a successful single mom.
I love that. And I love how you saw that you were worth more than you originally had planned, and that you were like, this is one path, and it's okay to change paths, and it's okay to evolve. And as you evolve, to evolve the career or the things that you're involved in. And I absolutely love how you've grown. And how old are your kids?
So I have Juliet, who is 17. She's in her senior year in high school. So she's applying out to colleges right now. And then Scarlett is 15 and a half, and she's a freshman in high school. And so she's just starting, like, to figure out, like, wow, grades are really important now. I got to start thinking about college and transcripts, but she's also an athlete. So very, very busy kid.
Awesome.
Yeah, so throughout your journey, what has been your most significant challenge? And if so, how did you overcome this challenge?
I would say absolutely being a working mother. I think, there's two reasons for that. Number one is obviously traditionally, women in roles, historically forever, are caretakers, and we are to take care of the home, take care of the kids. And I struggled with the fact that I was working and maybe couldn't be at all of the events that my kids were participating in, or volunteering in school as much. And when they were younger, I was much more heavily involved in that. But as they began to get older and I began to become more successful in my career, it was limiting. And I remember sitting down with the head of school and saying, I almost had a nervous breakdown. I said, I can't handle this. I feel like I'm a terrible mom. And, I can't be in 10 places at once. And as much as I want to be there for my girls, and she was like, stop right there. And this was a female head of school. And she said, our job from 8 to 3 is to take care of your kids and make sure that they're getting the education that they need. Your job is to take care of them while they are not at school and make sure that they're getting what they need at home from you so that they can go out and be independent young females. And that really landed for me. So like that guilt piece, that difficult piece shifted for me probably when that conversation happened. And then of course the second, difficult piece was, being a female. And I want to clarify this. My business is not dominated by men. My business at the corporate level is dominated by men, but there's technically more women in real estate. But if you look at the top tier real estate agents across the country, it's still sort of dominated by men, and men run the companies, etc. So my challenge was, figuring out as a woman how to go into a listing appointment and compete against the guy that was my age with maybe the same experience or less than me. And how are they going to choose me? Because I had to go home and take care of the kids, or get to their, games, or go to their horseback riding lessons, where the men that I was competing with that had children as well were never asked that question. So that was a big, big challenge for me to sort of overcome that with clients and in the workplace, and be able to say, look, I make just as much money as they do. I'm just as much of a good parent as they are. I don't want you to think because I'm a mom that I don't have the ability to be as present in my career and as good of an agent. And that's still a very hard thing, I think, for a lot of women to overcome, particularly women who are mothers and are in the workforce.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you don't give up. Like, you have continued to, deal with these challenges as they come at you and be there for your kids, but also prioritize growing your team and growing in real estate. But since you're balancing like that professional life with personal life, as I think so many people, even as teenagers, I feel like there's kind of it's different, of course, but there's kind of a balance of, I want to do sports and I want to maybe, do something unique, maybe join a camp or drama or theater. But also have time with friends and have time with family. So how do you handle stress and keep a positive mindset while balancing that professional and personal life?
Honestly, I don't think it's that much different. The stress that you guys as students are under is far more stressful than what I had growing up. I mean, the academic pressure on you guys, the athletic pressure on you guys I've never subscribed to it, but I know, by virtue of, just being at a school that's competitive, that it whether or not I put that pressure on my kids, it's on them anyway. So I just wanted to make that statement first. But I think, finding time and finding space for yourself is crucial. You need recovery. And if you're spending your time on your phone or, with your head buried in a computer until midnight studying for a course, there's no recovery time. You guys need to make sure, I need to make sure I'm getting enough sleep. Like, sleep is the most important thing that, for your brain to recover, for your body to recover. And people don't recognize that. Like, I was listening to a podcast yesterday and I was saying to myself, my God, like, I'm not sleeping well enough. I am not getting between 7 and 8 hours of very restful sleep. So, and I might not need as much as the average person, but that recovery time is so crucial. And I struggle with it, but I do try to wake up earlier and take an hour for myself. And before you girls, I was at the gym at 6:45 this morning and doing hardcore strength training. I think I pushed up like 150 pounds today on squats. But I do that because it's my time to sort of take for myself, push myself, get the serotonin pumping. I think people really undervalue how important exercise is, not for your body. Of course, it's good for your body, but for your mind set and for just yourself, your mental clarity. So that and sleep are the two things that I struggle with, and also make sure that I devote time and energy to.
I love sleeping. I've done a lot of research on like how sleep could benefit you and stuff, and there's just countless, like, it's never ending of just how well it can benefit you, from even just how you act towards others and even to like your appetite. And I find it so fascinating. And even though like
maybe even more important than eating well and diet and exercise, like, I really truly think sleep is the most important thing. And I really didn't discover that until a couple of years ago, and listen to so many podcasts and doctors talk about like the beauty and the magic of how important like good quality sleep is. So
it's just sometimes it can be so hard to find the time with like everything going on and everything.
It's kind of like you got to prioritize it. You got to say like, that's enough work for today, or I'm not going to stay out that late, because in order to kind of benefit yourself in the long term and prioritize yourself, it's important to set boundaries. Even though it can be so challenging, but it's
well, you know what? I was listening to a podcast yesterday on my way home from taking my daughter to a horse show, and Mel Robbins was talking about it. And she was like, the doctor that was on was saying, start backwards. Like, what time do you want to wake up in the morning? And if your goal is to wake up at 6, count backwards for you guys as teenagers, you need more sleep than like an adult does, but count backwards 7, 8 hours for me. And then make sure that you're in bed 9 hours before, you need that sleep. And that's like a good exercise, and it's very black and white versus, you're getting in bed at 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m. By the time you're like dozing off, it's 11:30. And then before you know it, the alarm goes off and you haven't had the sleep that's really important, so that you wake up and you're functioning, you're powering. Like I feel so much more energy and focus when I get that sleep. I'm a better parent. I'm a better, career woman. I'm a better agent, like all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have any kind of time-saving techniques or hacks that you do in your daily routine to kind of have enough time for that self-care and sleep?
Every single minute of my day is calendared. I do not even dinners. Like, girls, like, start young. Like, from the moment that you wake up, if you want a 45-minute workout before you go to school or whatever it looks like for you, then schedule it, put it on the calendar. Every time, like when you're studying for a course, or for me, like Like I make sure that I have 30 or 45 minutes after I get home from the gym to shower, get myself a smoothie, get some energy in me, and then I'll schedule my first meeting. But every single thing has to be calendared. And I'll go through my calendar the night before. And if my director of operations, Cody, who I think you guys met, if we feel like we've devoted too much time to one certain thing, I'll say shorten it. Like I don't need an hour and a half meeting on Zoom with a client I've spoken to 6 times in the last week. Shorten it to 30 minutes. And that, buys me more time to be more effective in my day. I don't like, and my dad said this to me when I was growing up, anyone that works past 5:30 p.m. is not being effective with their day. Now, I want to qualify that by saying I definitely work past 5:30. I have a very different job than him, but I think the messaging in that is if you are very effective with the hours that you are there to work or be an athlete or do whatever it is that you're doing, and you're super focused and effective, there is no reason that you should be working from 6 a.m. until 10 p.m. every night, because it's not sustainable.
Absolutely. I'm the same way. Every single night, I plan out my next day, and like whenever I have, say, a midterm or a final exam coming up, like I'm scheduling when am I studying for this part of the unit and this part of the course. And I agree, scheduling is the best way to make sure that, like you said, you're not working way too late into the evening. And I think once in a while, especially like if you have some big deadline or a major exam or something like that coming up, or something unexpected happens, which does happen sometimes, unfortunately, then it goes off your schedule. But I think overall having like that routine and that habit of having what you need to get done written down, and even like checking it off or deleting it from your to-do list, is so satisfying.
So satisfying. And also, guys, saying no. Like when you are at your limit and you're like, oh, but I had a pizza party last night at 5. I had been up at 4:00 in the morning for 3 days in a row to get my daughter to Palm Springs and back for a horse show. I had just gotten back for the day. She had fallen off her horse and had a headache. And so I was concerned about her. And I'm like, well, she's not going to be back till 6:30, but I could go to the pizza party. But like, I'm burnt. I'm spent. So I just texted my friend and I said, I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to make it. Yeah. And like, you got to be okay with setting boundaries for yourself and for your own limits, because you say yes to everything. And then again, the sustainability piece, like you can't do it all. You have to know when to turn it off.
Prioritizing.
Yeah, so definitely. I think that when you say yes to everything, even things you don't want to, it's just so additionally draining. And just like spending time with people that just don't uplift you and everything. It's just when you're really busy, you need to find as much energy as you can in your day. And if you're finding yourself losing it because you're saying yes to all these things that you don't need or want, then it's just something you need to cut out.
Yes. So what would you say are the most rewarding aspects of your life, considering your career, your online presence, and being a mom?
I mean, definitely my girls. They're the most rewarding. Now, don't get me wrong. They are teenagers and they can be little assholes. Forgive me, but they are also so independent. And I think part of the reason that they're independent, and I don't carry around that guilt anymore, is because we have those conversations all the time. Like when I was guilty and feeling bad about being a working mom, like I would talk to them about it. And so Juliet, especially my eldest daughter, who's 17, was like, you got to knock that off. Like this sabotage stuff that you're doing. And I was like, are you going to be like the best advice I've gotten all week, and you're 17? And I think it truly comes from having like a really great open dialogue with my girls since they were young. I've always chosen to parent from my heart and from my gut, and not necessarily listen to all the outside noise. Luckily, it's worked in my favor. And so the payoff is now they're like these young little independent women like yourselves, and they have goals, they have ideas of their own, they have, things that they want to achieve, and I have nothing to do with it. Like yes, I set them up for success and to be independent. So now I just get to have this prideful moment of watching my daughter apply to college. She sent off 10 applications the other day. I had no idea. I had nothing to do with it. I didn't review anything. Like, that's pretty incredible. So the reward for me is watching them thrive. When I know how difficult it is to, be a teenager today versus when I grew up, it's hard, and they're thriving. And so, not to say that they don't have, down moments, but that's definitely my most proud accomplishment.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so wonderful how, like, I guess sometimes your struggles can turn out to be the most rewarding. Like, I know sometimes when you're in a difficult time and you feel guilty, I mean, everyone has some challenges in their life. And from personal experience, like, I feel like some of the most low points in my life have brought me to the best points in my life.
And I think also communication with people is like one of the best skills you can have, because in the end, the way to build a better relationship, the way to know what the person is going through, to give them the appropriate support, you need to be able to have a good communication system. You need to be able to talk to them. And I think that what you have with your girls is just amazing.
Thank you. I mean, for me, it's like the door's open. Sometimes I feel like I'm hovering. I'm like, hi, you guys want to hang out? And they have their own things going on, and I can either choose to take that personally, or I could say, wow, I've raised these really independent young ladies who have a schedule and, friends and independent relationships of me. And I can either make those things like about myself, or I can say, wow, I've raised these really cool young girls who have their own ideas and their own thoughts and their own future in front of them that has nothing to do with me. And those are the type of like young women that I want to see going to college, that I want to see running Fortune 500 companies. Like, that's a mission in and of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. So what is your favorite thing to kind of do with your daughters as a way to spend some quality time together?
Travel. I love, love, love to take them to new and different places. And, because it's Juliet's last year in high school, we're going to spend some time, in Sun Valley, which is our ski home in Idaho that, I've been going there since I was 6. So that's just like a place that's super special to us, and we'll spend the holidays there. But I like to introduce them to new and different places because, I got to do that growing up, and I got to see some of the world. And so the best time with them is always spent in another country, always, because I'm pulling them out of like their daily routine with friends. And so it's like, you got to kind of yank them out of the situation in order for them to be open to trying different things and spending time that's like super focused with your, you guys and your relationship. So that's always what I found to be the most successful and like best quality time with my girls.
I love that. Well,
Yeah.
What would you say your favorite country has been that you visited?
Oof. I mean, we love Italy.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
We love the Italians. We love the food. We love walking too. Like, I took them to the Italian Alps last Christmas. We went skiing in a totally foreign country, unbeknownst, they're so used to skiing in the US. And so we just decided to do something completely different. And it was wild. It was a really cool experience. And, not to mention the pasta.
I know. Whenever we go to Italy, it's always so nice because you get to walk everywhere, because like we will never like take a car or rent something. We'll just walk all over the whole city, and it's so nice just to see all the sights, see all the people. And
the people are amazing. The culture, the food, like I think I ate pasta like twice a day for like 7 days. But because you're out and you're walking so much and the food isn't processed, like you're not gaining weight, you're active, like it's super fun.
And you feel really good there.
Absolutely. So what are your top 3 tips for teenagers to balance their lives and kind of, I guess, get the most out of their time as a teenager?
I would say choose your friends wisely. You are developed by the people that you spend time with. So, you know, I always say, like, I like to be around people that I admire because they level me up. I don't want to be around people that are beneath me because they're going to bring me down. So choose your friends wisely, number one, and elevate yourself because of them and admire them for their strengths. I'd also say know your weaknesses. I know that's hard when you're a teenager. You know your strengths, right? But it's sometimes hard to speak about your weaknesses out loud. If you understand your weaknesses, then you can ask for help in those areas versus feeling like super alone in those thoughts and being like, I can't do this. This is not, I'm an introvert. I'm not a public speaker or whatever it is. I think knowing them, being able to define them and write them down is super important so that you can communicate where you need help versus going through it alone. And then finally, back to calendaring. I really think it's important as a teenager to develop the skill sets of understanding how to manage a day, start to finish, and learning, today I have the capability of doing this. I'm not going to stretch it to this. Today I have enough energy and focus to establish boundaries where I'm going to work from here, this time until this time, and then I'm taking a break. So I think knowing yourself and by doing it and starting at your age, the amount of success you'll have at adult, you'd be surprised. I mean, there are people that have been, colleagues of mine. They don't have a schedule. They don't have a system in place. And they're wondering why they wake up and they're like, I don't know why I'm not successful. So those are my 3 tips.
It's all about building those habits. Like, we've learned through researching that it takes 21 days to build a habit and 90 days to create a permanent lifestyle change. So as you're creating a calendar or going through that, and especially since it's November and the New Year's coming up, it's a great time to kind of start thinking about those new habits you'd want to implement. But honestly, I think any time is a great time to start because every day is a fresh day, every day is a new start.
I totally agree. And I don't do New Year's resolutions. I don't like the pressure of any of that stuff. For me, it's I constantly am making those adjustments. Yeah. I'm constantly saying how have I been treating myself lately? How have I been feeding myself? What kind of sleep am I getting? Am I overworking myself? Am I overcommitted? Do I need some time with friends? These are things that you guys should be evaluating all the time and insert those moments for yourself, even if it's just an hour, even if you're I'm going to go to a yoga class with my 3 girlfriends and take a break from studying finals because I've been at it for 6 days in a row. You have to give yourself those moments and respect your own boundaries and stuff like that.
I agree. And just like you said, having a certain date to start a new habit can sometimes be a lot of pressure. And so just being I didn't succeed as much at this today, so tomorrow I'm going to try something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think even just the action of trying things again and again, even though you're failing, and just trial and error just shows that you're committed to doing it. And I just think that it's also a great way of kind of growing and eventually getting there.
Yeah. And remember, you guys, you don't know how sweet success tastes until you failed. So the beauty of having the success that I have at this point in my life is only because I failed 812 times along the way. And so it just makes it that much sweeter. The struggle is real, but know that on the other side of that, the success is that much sweeter.
And every time you fail, you get one step closer to achieving what you want.
And I believe in using the word failure. Some people don't. I don't believe in handing out first place to everyone. That's not the way it goes. That's not the way life is. Yeah. So accept those failures, learn from them, cry if you want to, be angry about it, but then move on and keep going.
Absolutely. And just like you were saying, having some time to reflect as well, and think about what more could I be doing for myself, maybe something that I could cut out of my life, maybe something I should do a little bit more of. I think that's great. Just having some self-reflection, maybe even having a journal that you write down, I need to schedule some time to hang out with with a friend, or maybe I need to go to sleep early, or maybe this weekend I'm not going to do any studying or any work, or just kind of just have some me time. I love that. What is one piece of advice that you would give your teenage self?
I would say lean into like who I was authentically at that age. I think I was always me. I've always been this person, but there was a period of time when I was a teenager where I didn't have that level of confidence, and I felt I wasn't good enough, and I wasn't pretty enough, and I wasn't smart enough, all the things. Knowing what I know now, I would have been so much more like leaning into just being my authentic self and not giving a shit what anyone thinks. Because at the end of the day, you go back to your high school reunion 20 years later and you're like, ha, I didn't peak in high school, but guess what? I'm peaking now, kiddos, and I think it's hard, I think it's hard to be a teenage girl, especially. And I struggled. I definitely struggled with confidence and being my authentic self. And so I faked it. Right. And I regret that. I wish I would have been a little truer to myself and truer to what my beliefs were. And I would be like, go for it. Who cares what anyone has to say about it?
I love that. And I think especially in high school, it's like, it seems like the entire world is like right now. If you don't succeed at something right now, you're never going to succeed in the future. If people don't like you right now, people are not going to like you in the future. At least that's how it's been for me throughout high school. And what I've realized is very similar to you. Like, high school, you don't want necessarily to peak in high school, and who you become after high school is like just as important, and it's more long-term outside of high school as well. So that's what I kind of try to keep in mind on those difficult days.
High school is a blip on a journey that like you'll look back and you'll go, wow, those 4 years were crazy. And it is an important time in a teenage life. And it feels very, very important, particularly when you're living it. Just remind yourself that there's so many more years to live. And if for the girls out there or the boys out there that aren't peaking and are struggling, just remember to like stay authentic, stay who you are. Don't let it get you down, because they're on the other side of that. I cannot tell you how many of my friends that struggled in high school are now Forbes 500 CEOs. They're killing it. They're happy. They have families. And, maybe they were the dorks in high school. Maybe they were a band nerd. Maybe they were terrible in high school and didn't get great grades. And now they run a tech company. So, things are not always as they seem. And sometimes in high school, it's hard to see outside of that box.
I think school just seems like it's never going to end. And then afterwards, once it's ended, it's like there's just this whole new world that just wasn't there when you were younger.
Yeah. So what do you do every day that brings you a small bit of happiness?
I work out. I really try to work out 5 days a week. I wake up. I don't even walk downstairs and get a cup of coffee. I put my workout clothes on, because I know if I walk down in my robe, I'm gonna be cozy. I'm gonna chill for a bit. So I just get up, I throw my gear on, I walk downstairs, I grab an energy drink, and I walk out the door and I sweat, and I love it. And sometimes there's days where it's a little cold outside. It's a little harder to get out the door, but I have never, not once, left the gym or left my Pilates or left a hike going, God, I wish I didn't do that. I always feel instantly better. And so that's my time. It's non-negotiable.
I love that. And I try to do the same thing with exercise, because I think that there's such a big thing of starting your day on a positive way, starting it on a positive note. It helps you kind of get that endorphin rush in the morning, started on a positive note, then you are energized, you're ready to go, and it's like a bit of me time, self-care right in the morning. And absolutely, like, it can be difficult to be motivated to start the workout, but once you kind of know how to hack your own mindset a little bit, like if you don't get cozy right away and you just kind of get up and go, it's a great hack. And we're all about building habits. And once you get into that routine of every day I wake up, Monday through Friday, put on my workout clothes, head to the gym, it gets much easier over time as you build that into your routine.
You put that cozy robe on and your slippers, and it's going to take an extra 35, 40 minutes for you to be like, I don't want to take it off. If you just start there, I'm telling you, it definitely has helped me, because listen, I didn't want to get up and go to the gym this morning, but I'm really glad I did.
Yeah, and that piece you said about how you don't regret it, I think that's so true. Like, we have to think about the big picture. Like, you won't regret doing something that makes you feel good, because it fuels you.
And it's always like, I always say this, and my ex-boyfriend, Eric, who's still my trainer and friend, just drive there. Like, if you can force yourself to get in the car and get there, if you still want to say no, then maybe say no. But once you're in the car and you're on your way there, there's no way you're turning it down, you know? And there's a lot of people, like, you know, they're setting themselves up to fail by virtue of not giving themselves the opportunity to actually walk into the class, walk into the gym, walk into the yoga room, and then tell me you're ready to walk out. I'd say that's a very low percentage of people. So just get there.
Exactly. I love that. I love that so much. Do you have like a certain motivational quote that you love and that you remember that keeps you going?
Oh my God. There's so many.
I know.
I think one of the more powerful, you know, things for me, I mean, they're always like female based, because again, that's just who I am. But, you know, I like the start of my book was to all the females out there waiting to make a move. The time is now. You know, it's not, you're not as a woman or as a young female waiting for someone to give you an opportunity. You have to go out and get it. And you need to wake up every day with that in mind, because you're going to have it harder. And you're going to have it harder than the average white dude that gets up and has the same opportunities presented to him. You're going to have to work a little bit harder. So you got to be, every day is today. Wake up, get ready, fight harder.
I love that. There's this other quote that's very similar that you remind me of. It's like, one day or day one. And it's like, make today your day one, rather than saying, oh, I'll do that one day. I'll do it tomorrow. I'll start it next week, next year. Like,
I love that. Yeah, I have so many, but that one, I put it at the front of my book because I thought that would kind of inspire women to kind of open the book and say, yeah, the time is now. I'm going to keep reading, you know?
I love that so much. So do you have anything exciting coming up that you would like to share with us? Any goals, events, etc.?
We have season 15 of $1 Million Listing that will be airing. We don't have an air date yet, but we're wrapping filming for the year because, you know, we film 10, 11 months out of the year. It's not like a typical show, which is why it always takes longer to get to the air. I'm thinking January, early January, give or take.
Well, we will be watching. We love it. We watch it with our whole family.
Good. And then we've got some speaking engagements coming up that we're working on solidifying. I've started a private ultraviolet club on Instagram where you can subscribe to my club, and we do a monthly Zoom where I talk to everybody for an hour, and that's been great. I haven't really promoted it because I wanted to see how the format and the program worked, but it's seemingly doing well. So I'm ready to kind of put it out there a little bit more. And so that's a fun way to connect with me, I think, almost one-on-one, because I keep the group small.
That's so exciting. So is there anywhere where our audience can find you if they want to learn more?
Obviously, I'm on social media channels at Tracy Tutor on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all the things. And obviously, if you have any real estate needs, you can go to my website at tracytutor.com. We do have a lot of young kids that want to come work with us over the summertime. So you guys can always send your resumes to info@tracytutor. You know, if that's something that you guys are interested in doing. I'm always trying to help out, you know, obviously the young little women coming up in the world. So I'm happy to be able to do this with you guys. And I think you're, wow, so polished, so professional, and you guys have a big podcasting career in front of you, I think.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
We're so excited that we got to talk to you today because we've been watching your show, like I said at the start, like for years and like following you on Instagram and all that. And so it's so cool, like to be able to talk one-on-one and ask so many questions.
Well, you guys were very prepared. You're very polished, but you're also very authentic and connected. And so congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Welcome. Best of luck to you.
Thank you. You
And
too.
much. Mwah.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Hack Your Happiness.
And a huge thank you to Tracy Tutor for joining us on today's episode to talk about the importance of balancing your professional and your personal life, as well as just kind of going for it and not being afraid of what others think.
One of the biggest takeaways that I had from what Tracy said was that sleep is so important. And as a society and as teenagers, I just don't think we get enough sleep. But I think one of the strategies that she provided with us that was really helpful is just counting back. So like you find the time that you wake up at and then count back so that you actually go to bed at a time that gives you all those hours. And I think that when you sleep more, you're able to have more positive relationships, you're able to focus more on your work, and overall be a better person.
And one of my biggest takeaways from talking to Tracy today is the importance of scheduling your life. And personally, I'm a huge scheduler. I absolutely love to have all my deadlines, everything I need to get done, written down. And to hear that someone as successful as Tracy also does that is just proving to me that it's a great habit to have. And I think another one of the biggest takeaways that I had from her is that today is your day. Tomorrow is your day. Like, don't wait for a huge event to happen or for a big change of, year or month or season to do what you want to do. Every day is a fresh start, so do what you want and make changes in your life. Life is a constant journey of evolving.
If you enjoyed this week's episode of Hack Your Happiness, make sure to leave a 5-star review from whatever provider you're listening from.
Also, be sure to follow this podcast on wherever you're listening so that you don't miss our next iconic interview. See you next time!